Hi there, I'm Uncle Joel with Pen and Reel, and I just got back from seeing Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie. Now, it's no secret that this movie has had a lot of controversy from the get-go. From the initial posters up to the horrible initial design, even to the point of the new design. The movie has never felt like it was going to be what it should be. Several of my friends and I talked about it way back when the first trailers came out. We likened it to a modern version of the Super Mario Brothers movie, which everyone can agree was kind of a disaster. With the initial design being horrible, the trailers getting tons of backlash, it was understandable the studios went back and fixed all of the CGI for Sonic. And honestly, I have to applaud them for doing so. I think Sega saw just how much of a disaster they had on their hands. So I have to give them major kudos for correcting a major mistake well before the release of the movie. That being said, even when they released the corrected trailers with the updated look, I still didn't have high hopes for the movie. From the beginning, it looked like a really cheesy, just bad movie. It didn't look like something that was going to be interesting. And so I went into this movie with those low expectations. And honestly, the only reason I wound up seeing the movie in theaters, and specifically on opening day, was so that I could make this video. If it wasn't for my YouTube channel, I honestly probably would have waited to see the movie once it came out on home release, if I ever even bothered to do so in the first place. So, what did I think? Well, it's kind of complicated. I think going in with low expectations helped, but not enough. Also, I think they could have done more to make it clear who they were targeting. While watching the movie, it became clear to me that this was not a movie targeting people who had grown up with Sonic, but targeting the next generation of Sonic lovers. I think this was less targeting long-term fans and more trying to get children to fall in love with the character that their parents grew up with. This is not a movie targeting nostalgia. It's not a movie for adults, per se. This is very much a kid's movie. And once I realized that, I became a bit less critical. There are a lot of things that I really did not like about the movie and a lot of things that were making me, frankly, hate the movie. But once I started recognizing this is a kid's movie, I softened quite a bit. For instance, a lot of the humor fell very flat for me. It was very obvious, it was very straightforward, and very little actually made me chuckle. But then when I started realizing, okay, this is targeting kids, younger audiences might find this funnier than I do. At which point I was okay with some of those very obvious jokes that were being handed to us. A lot of the plot points were very cliche, a lot of the characterization was very cliche, a lot of the dialogue was overly simple or kind of ridiculous. Dr. Robotnik figured out certain things far too quickly, far too easily. It went beyond genius level intellect and became, hey, I see this one little thing and all of a sudden I know far too much. It was very convenient for the plot and very unrealistic at the same time. But for a kid's movie, I'm a bit more forgiving of that. I don't think it's as big of a deal when you just want to move the plot along in order to keep the children interested. For a movie targeted at adults, no, that does not work. But for kids, yeah, okay, I can accept it. Not a big deal. Plot should take a little bit of a back seat to being entertaining, to good characterization, and to keeping the movie fun. Some studios, such as Pixar, are able to balance both very well, but that's not very common, and so I'm not going to hold everybody to Pixar standards. So going into the movie, one of the problems I had was a lot of the advertisements, specifically the posters that I was seeing in the movie theaters. You see, picture of Sonic running away from Dr. Robotnik with the rings and the drones, and then it says Sonic the Hedgehog, Jim Carrey, and James Marsden. Why in the world do they not list Ben Schwartz, who voices Sonic? I'm sorry, that just does not make any sense to me. I get the whole top billing thing. Jim Carrey has to be first. James Marsden has to be up there. I don't get completely leaving Ben Schwartz out. That just does not fly for me. As a whole, I found the movie far more balanced than I was expecting it to be. I thought it was going to lean very heavy into the cheesiness, and there was quite a bit of cheesiness, to be fair. But it didn't feel like they were leaning into cheesiness as a crutch. It was, this is the world we're presenting, yeah, it's cheesy, but you know what, we're just going to run with it. No pun intended. So the thing that surprised me was, going into this, with such low expectations, I thought this was just going to be a bad movie outright. What surprised me was it had the structure to be a good movie. It had a lot going for it to make it a good movie. I think there were just certain writing decisions that held it back from actually being what it could be. And some of that might have been the director, and some of that might have been the script, which there was quite a bit of like dialogue issues and stuff that was very, very cheesy, very cliche, very been there, done that. As a whole, the movie felt like a 90s movie with modern CGI. So if you enjoyed 90s movies, specifically 90s family-friendly action movies, then I think you would enjoy this. It's not a great film by any means, but I wound up changing my opinion partway through. By the end of it, I went from thinking this is a bad movie to, no, it's okay. It's not great. It's honestly fairly forgettable for me. This time next week, I will almost certainly not remember much of anything about it. But for some quick entertainment, and especially for introducing your children to the character that you grew up loving, I think this is a decent movie. There is enough here to keep people interested, and enough that I'm actually curious to see where they go with the sequel, if the movie does well enough for them to make one. If not, it would not surprise me because, again, it's not a great movie, but it's not bad either. So for me, it falls squarely in the okay category. So there you have it. It's an okay movie. Not great, not terrible, just okay. But if you've seen it, what did you think? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments. If you haven't seen it, I say, so yeah, if you're a fan of Sonic, I'd say it's worth seeing. Not necessarily something you have to rush out to see. It's not that good, but it's decent and worth seeing if you're curious. But if you have kids, I would say definitely take them to see it. They will probably enjoy it far more than you will. So yeah, if you've seen the movie, let me know what you thought down in the comments. Let me know if there's any points that I brought up that you hadn't considered, or if maybe you feel like I'm being a little bit too harsh on it. So yeah, I'm really curious to hear what you think. And until next time, this is Uncle Joel saying, stay tangible.